The elevator doors closed with a sigh, and Ryan Caldwell caught his own reflection in the polished steel, 36 years old, perfectly tailored suit, a face that once screamed confidence but now only showed defeat. Another contract gone, $50 million on the table, and the Carter Foundation had walked out mid-meeting, leaving him with the same words he'd heard too many times lately. "You're impressive, Mr. Caldwell, but you don't understand us." That sentence clung to him like a curse. 4 failed deals in 6 months. Investors breathing down his neck. His empire built on inherited connections, and his obsession with luxury projects was cracking, and everyone knew it. He left the glass tower he called an office, ignoring the receptionist's polite "good night." Outside New York's November air cut straight through his suit, sharp and unforgiving. He started walking, no destination in mind, just the sound of his Italian shoes against concrete and the buzz of a city that suddenly felt too alive for a man sinking under his own failures. He wandered into a neighborhood he normally sped past in a tinted sedan. The buildings were tired fire escapes like steel scars. That's when it happened. He nearly collided with a woman carrying a mop bucket. She steadied the load before looking up at him. Dark skin glowing under the streetlight, a simple blue uniform stitched with Metro Clean Services. Her name tag read Danielle. "Sorry," Ryan muttered. "No problem," she said, voice steady, almost amused. "You look lost." He let out a humorless laugh. "Lost doesn't even begin to cover it." "Rough day?" she asked, tilting her head. "Rough year," Ryan admitted before he could stop himself. For some reason, words just spilled out. He told this stranger about the failed deal, the investors, the cracks in his empire. She listened quietly, not with pity, but with the kind of patience he hadn't felt in months. When he finished, she shifted her mop to the other hand. "Can I tell you something? You don't actually listen. You talk at people, not with them. That Carter deal. They wanted affordable housing, jobs, hope. You offered them luxury condos and tax write-offs. You didn't hear what they were asking for." Her words cut deeper than any boardroom insult. Ryan opened his mouth to argue, but nothing came out. She had nailed the truth in 30 seconds flat. That night, he couldn't sleep. Her voice echoed in his head. A janitor had seen something no consultant, no investor, no partner ever dared to say. The next morning, Ryan was at his office 2 hours early, flipping through everything he could find about the Carter Foundation. For the first time, he read about the neighborhood they wanted to develop, not the property values, not the tax breaks, but the people. Families holding on. A grandmother refusing to leave the only home she'd ever known. Shops barely hanging on, but still feeding their blocks. The numbers made sense to him. But the stories, those broke him open. That evening he waited in the lobby until he saw her again. Danielle. She looked surprised when he walked up. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I need your help," Ryan said, almost desperate. "Teach me what I don't see." She studied him for a long moment. "If you're serious, meet me tomorrow at 9. Not here. A community center in Riverside. They're holding a meeting about those proposals, including yours. If you want to learn, you better sit in the back and listen." The next night, Ryan sat among 40 strangers in folding chairs. Old men, teenagers, single mothers, shopkeepers, all voices he had never heard in his penthouse. They tore into his proposal. One man shouted, "My grandson works at that factory. You want to tear down." "Where's he supposed to go when you replace it with boutiques?" A young mother asked. "What about our kids? Where do they play when you bulldoze the only safe space we have?" Ryan wanted to defend himself. He wanted to explain the profit margins, the tax credits, but for the first time he just stayed quiet. He realized Danielle was right. He'd been blind. Afterward, he sat slumped in his chair. Danielle leaned over. "How do you feel?" "Like an idiot." "That's a start," she said. "Now do something about it." The next days changed him. He walked the streets with Danielle, meeting shop owners, listening to kids visiting the corner store run by Mrs. Alvarez, who let families buy food on credit when money was tight. He saw the murals painted by teenagers, the community garden squeezed between two crumbling buildings, the after-school program in a basement that smelled like chalk and hope. His old plan would have destroyed it all. He went back to his investors with a new pitch: affordable housing job training, small business spaces. They balked at first. 30% less profit. "Are you insane?" one demanded. Ryan steadied his voice. "Less profit, but less risk. Faster approvals. No protests, no lawsuits. And it positions us for the future social impact investing ESG funds. Gentlemen, this isn't charity. It's smart business." Reluctantly, they gave him one shot. So Ryan tore up his calendar. He showed up at the diner in Riverside with a notebook instead of glossy renderings. Danielle met him there, jeans and a sweater instead of her cleaning uniform. "Rule number 1, she said, sliding him photos she'd taken. "Stop thinking like a developer. Start thinking like a neighbor." That became his mantra. Together, they drew up sketches by hand. Rough, messy human. At the next community meeting, Ryan stood in front of the residents, not with a sales pitch, but with their own words. "Mrs. Alvarez told me she knows every kid in this neighborhood. I want to protect her store. Mr. Jenkins said his grandson needs work. We're keeping the workshop jobs." People leaned forward. They asked questions. They argued. But for the first time, they didn't see a billionaire talking at them. They saw a man finally willing to listen. The project moved forward. Danielle became his community coordinator, bridging two worlds: his corporate boardrooms and her neighborhood stoops and corner stores. And somewhere in that grind site, visits, late-night strategy sessions, diner meals that replaced fancy lunches, he realized he was falling for her. Of course, nothing stays simple. Their small win in Riverside drew national attention. The Harrington Foundation invited Ryan's firm to pitch for a $100 million project in Detroit. They'd be up against giants with decades of experience. Everyone told them not to bother. But Ryan and Danielle walked into that Chicago boardroom like they owned their story. Instead of starting with charts, Ryan pointed to a photo of Mrs. Alvarez's corner store. "6 months ago, I would have torn this down. Today, it's thriving because we learned to listen." Danielle added, "Success isn't measured by square footage. It's measured by kids with safe places to grow, by jobs that keep families together, by businesses that know your name." The board members grilled them. What about scale? What about risk? What about profitability? And Ryan, once the man who measured everything in margins, said, "We're not here to build our reputation. We're here to build communities. If you want profits, hire someone else. If you want lasting change, hire us." 2 weeks later, they got the call. Against every odd, they won. The neighborhood celebrated like they'd all won the lottery. Ryan and Danielle stood in the middle of it, surrounded by laughter music, the smell of food cooking in the streets. But behind Danielle's smile, Ryan saw hesitation. That night, she confessed a rival firm had offered her a huge position, money, status, security. "It's the kind of offer I never thought I'd get," she whispered. Ryan's chest tightened. "So you're leaving?" She shook her head. "I don't know. What if this project breaks us? What if I lose everything? My career, my future in you. For a long moment, Ryan didn't answer. Then he went to his desk, pulled out papers his lawyer had drawn up. Equal partnership. My company becomes ours. 50-50. Equal say, equal risk, equal reward. I don't want you as my employee, Danielle. I want you as my partner in business and in life. She stared at him, tears in her eyes. Finally, she whispered, yes. Months later, they stood side by side at a groundbreaking in Detroit. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled notes, but Ryan barely noticed. He looked at Danielle, her hand wrapped in his, and thought about the man he used to be, arrogant, blind, convinced profit was the only measure of success. And now he knew better. Because a janitor on a dark street once told him the truth he needed to hear. And here's the thing, folks, was Danielle right to take the risk to gamble her future on a man who had failed so many times before? Or should she have taken the safe route with money and prestige? Do you believe businesses can truly serve communities while staying profitable? Or is that just a dream? I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts below. Share your stories. Have you ever been underestimated or had a chance encounter that changed everything? Let's talk about it.